Discover the sinister truth of the Cursed Woods Tavern. 7 chilling secrets revealed within. Jessica slammed her hands against the steering wheel, her pulse hammering in her ears as she stared at the broken-down car. Millstone Hollow, a sleepy little town, felt too far gone, far from the support system that should have been there for her and her spirited daughter, Lily. It was the kind of place that whispered secrets behind closed-door secrets like the Cursed Woods Tavern. Despite the stories of curses and hauntings, the flickering light in the distance seemed like a beacon. She had no choice. She had to go there. As she pushed open the heavy wooden door, an overpowering chill wrapped around her, contrasting sharply with the warmth of the dim light inside. The tavern was nearly empty, aside from a handful of familiar faces, all hunched over tables, their whispers mingling with the heavy air. The patrons looked up with hollow eyes that glinted like shards of glass, unsettlingly aware of her presence. Her heart raced as an elderly man with an oddly charming smile approached. He beckoned her to join them for supper, placing a plate filled with grotesquely appealing food in front of her. She didn't want to eat something that looked more like a culinary nightmare than a meal, but her hunger gripped her mind like a vice. As she sat down, the conversations around her turned low and conspiratorial. "The dues they must be paid," one voice hissed. Another murmured, "The forest demands it." Jessica's skin crawled, and she felt a chill run down her spine, mixed with confusion, fear creeping in like shadows. Before she could retreat into her thoughts, the tavern flickered ominously. Shadows stretched and twisted, creating monstrous shapes that loomed larger than life. The whispers turned sharp. "Urgent, it's the ritual," one voice cried. "They take your child." Jessica clenched her fists, the electric tension in the room causing her heart to race faster. Panic surged as she realized this wasn't just another town story. It was a facade, a disguise for something far more sinister that burrowed into their lives like weeds. Just then, she caught a glimpse of a woman from the grocery store, the one who always smiled at Lily. But now, her face told a different story, one of fear and betrayal. Jessica felt her stomach drop, knowing she had to get Lily out of here. She bolted outside, gasping for fresh air, but the woods whispered back, drowning her cries in a cacophony of malevolence. "Help!" she shouted, but the sound vanished into the night. Her pulse thundered in her ears, a drum of petrifying urgency. She was teetering on the edge of horror, aware that Millstone Hollow had its grips on her. Through the darkness, those familiar faces twisted into grotesque masks of torment and complicity. 7 secrets, she realized, all bound to this cursed place. Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system, and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The door creaked slowly behind her, calling her back. Every instinct screamed for her to run far, far away from the tavern and those haunted woods, but dread roots dug into her feet. Would she dare to risk the secrets hidden within before they pulled her into their nightmares? A sudden gust of wind howled, and just beyond the trees, shadows twisted and writhed, dragging at her senses. The tavern's lantern light flickered, casting ominous reflections that twisted the familiar into the unimaginable. What lay beyond the door now felt more like a dark abyss, a chasm of unknown horrors and dire choices. With trepidation swelling in her chest, Jessica stood at the threshold, contemplating the terrible truth that awaited in Cursed Woods Tavern. Would she uncover its dark secrets, or would they consume her whole? She hesitated, her heart pounding like a wild creature trying to escape. The night air was heavy, thick with the scent of damp earth and decay. It wrapped around her like a warning, urging her to turn back, to flee into the darkness that lay outside the reach of the tavern's flickering light. But a muffled cry echoed from deeper within the shadows of the woods. It was Lily's voice, soft and pleading, a desperate whisper that pierced through her terror like a beacon. Jessica stumbled forward, propelled by instinct, the instinct of a mother trying to protect her child. The ground beneath her feet felt unstable, as if the earth itself were shifting, alive and hungry for the unknown. Lily, she shouted, her voice trembling. Panic clawed at her throat as she raced toward the heart of the woods. Each step seemed heavy, as if the shadows were reaching out to pull her back, to bind her to the very secrets she sought to uncover. The tavern door slammed shut behind her, sealing her fate. The darkness swallowed her whole as she lost sight of the distant flicker of light. Trees loomed overhead, their branches twisting like skeletal fingers reaching for her, blocking any chance of escape. She had entered the realm of silence, the unnatural stillness broken only by the rustling leaves that sounded disturbingly like whispering voices. Jessica, Jessica. The voice wrapped around her, calling her name in a familiar sing-song lilt. It was Lily. Where are you? Jessica's voice cracked as fear choked her. She pushed deeper into the fear-laden woods, heart racing, adrenaline surging with every step. Lily, Mommy. The call rang out again, this time from a distance that felt maddeningly near and yet impossibly far. Panic coursed through her as she strained to pinpoint the source. Suddenly, a rustling in the undergrowth snapped her attention. Something was moving, skittering in the shadows. A chill washed over her. Had the stories been true? Were creatures from the woods here, lurking, hunting her? The whispers grew louder, as if the very trees were conspiring against her, revealing secrets that clawed at her sanity. Jessica stumbled to a halt, breathing harshly, heart pounding like a war drum. She was alone, trapped, and then she heard it again, the sound of soft laughter. Childlike, innocent. It echoed through the trees, a haunting melody that left her breathless. Lily. The laughter stopped, abruptly cutting through the tense atmosphere. In its wake came a chilling silence that thickened the night air. She felt herself being watched, eyes piercing from hidden corners, reflected in the stillness. Were these the spirits of those who had vanished before her? Had they been trapped in this cursed realm, enslaved to the whims of a dark force? Then, in the distance, a flicker of light burst through the trees, a flash of familiar warmth but tinged with an ominous glow. Jessica raced toward it, her heart in her throat, praying it was a way back to the tavern, back to safety, or perhaps a chance to save her daughter before it was too late. As she reached the clearing, she froze. The sight before her turned her blood to ice. Lily stood in the center of the glow, eyes wide and unblinking, surrounded by dark figures that hovered just outside the light. They danced and twisted like shadows come to life, whispering the secrets of the woods in a language she could not understand. Lily, Jessica screamed, but the sound was swallowed by the oppressive silence. The figures turned towards her, their hollow eyes gleaming with malice. The shape of their faces stretched into grotesque smiles, as if they had been waiting for her all along. In that moment, she understood. Every secret was now hers to bear, every choice a burden that would bind her to this haunted place. And as the shadows stretched toward her, she realized one painful truth: the woods would not let her leave. She was going to uncover every secret, but at what cost? With trepidation and desperation spiraling within, Jessica braced herself for a confrontation with the very essence of dread, knowing that some truths could shatter a soul. She gritted her teeth and prepared to plunge into the depths of terror. But just as she took a step forward, an ear-piercing howl echoed from the darkness beyond. The woods were alive, and something was hungry. What would she face next in this twisted nightmare? The howl echoed like a death knell, reverberating through the trees, and Jessica's heart leaped into her throat. A primal instinct, the clock of survival, urged her to retreat. But as she glanced back, she realized there was no way to escape the swirling darkness. The figures, now more pronounced, seemed to stretch forward, their movements almost hypnotic, choreographed to an unfathomable rhythm. Lily, she shouted again, desperation boiling over. But her daughter remained entranced, eyes glistening with an unsettling light, as if she were not truly there. The figures encircled her, and each twist of their shadowy forms brought a new wave of dread flooding Jessica's veins. Mommy Lily's voice was a fragile wisp of sound, now mingled with the whispers of the dark figures. They beckoned, enticing. Their hissing laughter slithered through the foliage like serpents. They wanted her. The ground trembled beneath Jessica's feet. The earth seemed to groan under some ancient weight, as if it were a living entity, reacting to their presence. The shadows moved closer, tightening their grip around Lily, who stood oblivious, caught in a trance. Jessica's instincts kicked into overdrive. She launched herself forward, driven by nothing but fear and love. "Get away from her." The words escaped her lips with all the force of her being, but the moment they did, the shadows shrieked in unison. The sound was monstrous, an agonizing howl that froze her in place. They were not just shadows. They were corporeal forms that embodied the darkness around them. Jessica's breath came in harsh gasps, the chill of realization sweeping over her. These creatures were not merely figments of nightmare. They were alive, hungry for despair. In an explosion of courage, she pressed on. The moment she crossed into the periphery of the light enveloping Lily, the shadows recoiled, hissing like a cat cornered by a dog. But it was only for a moment. Her daughter stood still, illuminated but unseeing, lost to this world. "Lily." Jessica reached for her, grasping the edge of her daughter's sleeve, but the moment she made contact, a shock ran through her. It was as if she had plunged her hand into ice. Lily turned, and for a heartbeat, Jessica saw the real Lily shining through those glassy eyes. "Mommy," she said again, her voice soft with fear, yet beneath it lay something darker, an echo of that haunting laughter, a promise of the shadow's power. "Come with me," Jessica urged, tugging her daughter in the direction away from the figures, away from the oppressive gloom that threatened to swallow them both. But then the ground beneath them trembled again, harder this time, and a heartbeat later, the shadows surged towards them. They extended their skeletal fingers, clawing through the air as if they sought to drag them both into another realm. Without hesitation, Jessica summoned all of her strength. "I want to let you take her," she screamed, and as if fueled by her words, a bubble of light flickered around them, momentarily pushing the shadows back. But it was fragile, ephemeral. The horde of darkness hissed, their eyes turning from amusement to fury, and with an omnipresent force, the shadows lunged again. "Mommy!" Lily cried out, panicking for the first time, and Jessica's heart shattered at the sound. In that twist of fate, the shadows lunged closer, their forms shifting and blending with the night air. Jessica felt a slap of despair as Lily's hand slipped from her grasp, and she was suddenly faced with an impossible choice. Should she chase after her daughter, risking everything, or confront whatever evil lay behind the figures still looming in the periphery, eager to consume them both? As the darkness closed in, Jessica's decisions weighed heavy, and the shadows whispered promises of hidden truths. Whatever lay ahead was far worse than she could predict. Would she reveal the cursed secrets that drove the woods mad, or would she lose the last tether to her daughter forever? The answer danced just beyond her reach, but darkness always holds truths that are better left unknown. Jessica felt the world blur around her, the shadows undulating like a living ocean, drowning out reason and clarity. Her heart raced, a frantic drumbeat summoned in her spirit like a rallying cry. She had to choose, had to act. There was no time to dwell on fear or consequences. Lily, the name echoed through the chaos, an anchor amidst the storm. Jessica could see her daughter within the thicket of shadows, lost yet yearning for help. The dark figures writhed, their echoing laughter a cacophony of terror, clawing at her mind. She could almost feel their chill scraping against her soul. She lunged deeper into the swirling chaos, shoving aside the encroaching darkness. The ground heaved again, a seismic tremor that knocked her off balance, and she fell hard, scraping her palms against the cold earth. Pain shot through her, but it was nothing compared to the dread gripping her heart. "Lily!" she cried out again, forcing herself upright, eyes scanning the darkness. The sight of Lily, still entranced, filled her with a desperate despair. The shadows weren't just seeking to possess them. They wanted to consume her daughter whole, to use her as bait for more souls. If she didn't act fast, Lily would join the ranks of the lost and echo forever trapped in despair. Jessica forced a breath into her lungs, the air thick with the weight of the shadows. She took a step forward, grounding herself. "You want her?" she shouted, her voice ringing stronger. "Then you'll have to fight me first." The shadows halted as if momentarily stunned by her defiance. Jessica could feel their eyes on her, cold and hungry. Suddenly, one of the figures surged forward, its form transforming into a nightmarish visage, screeching as it pointed a crooked finger toward her. In that instant, Memories flooded her mind. Happy days with Lily, warmth, laughter that danced across long summer evenings. They were righteous, powerful, and they ignited a spark of something within Jessica. "Lily," she called again, pushing her emotion toward her daughter. "You're stronger than this. Fight them." The power of her words crumbled through the ether, reaching Lily's entranced state. For a moment, the glassy sheen over her eyes flickered, revealing a hint of the vibrant girl she had known. But the shadows recoiled, realizing the threat. "No," they shrieked. "She is ours." Jessica stumbled back, the figures seizing the moment to tighten their hold. The darkness surged, clawing at her anxiously, trying to reshape the narrative. "Step back," she screamed, channeling each ounce of her fear, her love for Lily. With a furious rush, her body pulsed with a radiant light, as if her will alone might unravel the twisting darkness. Lily blinked, her eyes clear for the barest of moments. "Mommy, help me," she cried, the sound desperate and real. With a racing heart, Jessica surged forward, reaching once more for her daughter's hand. Time slowed as she grasped Lily, feeling the warmth return. But the shadows shrieked, their fury palpable, as if they sensed the tide was turning against them. "Hold on," Jessica gasped, wrenching Lily back toward her, pulsing with determination. The cacophony of howls rose to a fever pitch, the darkness thrumming with rage. They would not let go easily. And then, just as the shadows lunged, a blinding glow erupted. It was powerful, rippling against the darkness, illuminating the woods and forcing the figures back. But just as suddenly, the light began to flicker, and within that fleeting moment, Jessica glimpsed beyond the shadows. There lay a portal, a swirling void that pulsed with both grotesque allure and raw terror. Was this the realm the shadows came from? The very source of their power? "Mommy, what is happening?" Lily's voice trembled, uncertainty etching her features as Jessica clutched her tighter. The light faltered, and the darkness swarmed closer, eager to reclaim what they believed was theirs. Jessica stood at a precipice. She could try to leap through that portal, draining succor from its abyss, or push against the deepening night, pressing forward against the monstrous figures that sought to tear them apart. What choice would she make when the very essence of her daughter hung in the balance? As shadows howled and reality blurred, the question loomed heavy. The darkness had secrets buried within those twisted branches, tempting enough to consume her. If only she knew how to harness the light before it vanished. Straining at the threshold of revelation and horror, she realized with dread. Perhaps understanding the shadows was the key to saving her daughter, or dooming them both to an eternal night. What lurked within the portal, ready to swallow them whole? The shadows lunged again, viscous and eager, and Jessica felt their coldness seep into her bones. Panic swirled like a storm in her chest. She had to act, but the sight of the portal flickering like a dying star gnawed at her resolve. It beckoned, a whisper of hope amidst despair. Could its dark pull actually be salvation? "Mommy." Lily's voice wavered, igniting another spark within Jessica. The connection between them was thick as fog and just as suffocating. She could feel the warmth slipping away as the darkness snarled closer, fierce and relentless. In search of her daughter, they needed to retreat. But retreat led them straight toward the portal, and a feeling of instinctual dread rooted Jessica to the spot. No, she wouldn't allow the shadows to drag them into that whirlpool of horror. With fierce determination, she squeezed Lily's hand tighter, praying it would be enough to pull them both back. "Fight with me, Lily," Jessica cried out, her voice steadying, cutting through the cacophony of terror. "Remember our sunflowers? Our ice cream trips? You're stronger than they are." For a heartbeat, the shadows faltered, their twisted forms momentarily hesitating. It was as if they recognized the strength of love in her words, though they quickly recoiled as if stung. "She is yours, but she belongs to us now," they howled, their voices merging into a discordant symphony of cruelty. That shadowy chorus clawed at her sanity. Jessica made a choice. Rage filled her, igniting every ounce of her will. "No, you don't get to take her. Not today." With renewed fervor, she channeled memories of sheer joy, the sound of Lily's laughter, the feel of her tiny hand in hers, and the warmth of her sleepy breaths. Each moment was a pint of shimmering light, adding to the fire within. The air around them crackled as her light burst forth, intertwining with the darkness. It struck like a bolt of lightning, illuminating the world around them, making it clear that they were not done fighting. "We will not be your prey." But as her radiance surged, the shadows shrieked with a violent rage. The pain of their defiance pressed against Jessica's chest and began to suffocate her. They stretched toward Lily, eager to snatch her back into their vortex of despair. "No," Jessica screamed, pushing the light toward Lily. "You belong to the sun, sweetheart. Feel its warmth." Lily hesitated, a flicker of fear ghosting across her face, but then she willed herself to believe. For an agonizing moment, the connection between mother and daughter teetered like a tightrope stretched high above the abyss. And then, with a shaky breath, she echoed Jessica's words. "I want to let you take me." The shadows recoiled at their united front, a rippling wave of fury crashing upon the bright barrier between them. Jessica felt the tremor in her bones as she grasped Lily tighter, anchoring her in the growing storm. But still, that portal loomed, a gaping maw hungry for their surrender. An intricate web of darkness swirled just beyond, and Jessica understood. If she wanted to save them, she had to tread the very line that terrified her. The whispers grew louder, echoing promises of power and understanding from the darkness. "Embrace it, you can save your child if you only let go." Jessica screamed, a raw sound ripped from the depths of her soul as the shadows lunged again. She turned, eyes wide, desperate for answers, remembering her mother's stories about the Cursed Woods, the tavern with secrets that never let go. Was this the same curse, twisted and alive? "Mommy!" Lily shrieked, pulling at her sleeve, wide-eyed with fear. The shadows were forming a wall, suffocating them in an emerging darkness that twisted despair into madness. As the light dimmed further, Jessica faced the portal. Whatever lay beyond, it could be the answer to breaking their ties. Taking a deep breath, she leaned closer, searching the void for what could save them. But then the shadows surged one last time, a dizzying tide of darkness that threatened to consume everything. Where would this desperate leap take them? Would the secrets within the shadows prove to be the salvation they sought, or a deeper nightmare waiting to unfold? A blinding flash engulfed Jessica and Lily as they were pulled toward the portal. The shadows writhed and howled, their grasp tearing at the edges of Jessica's mind. She could feel the cold closing around them, a million tendrils pricking at her skin, threatening to strip away everything she loved. "No," she shouted, feeling the strength of her own desperation. "Not today." Together, they surged forward, fists clenched, like two fireflies illuminating the dark. But with every inch they gained, tendrils of shadow wrapped tighter around them, drawing them closer to the gaping void. "Mommy!" Lily shrieked again, the sound echoing hauntingly through the darkness. The feral shriek split the air, and a creature emerged from the portal, a silhouette of malice straight from a nightmare. Its eyes glowed an otherworldly green, and its skeletal fingers reached out, hungry to seize Lily. Jessica's heart raced. She couldn't let that happen. "Stay behind me," she ordered, positioning her body between her daughter and the lurking terror. The moment felt endless, like they were trapped in a strange, suspended reality, with a battle raging all around them. Shadows danced on the edges, their forms twisting like broken promises. The portal pulsed, a heartbeat, thumping ominously, drawing them closer still, insatiable. An icy wind howled through the nightmare, stealing their warmth and replacing it with fear, a gnawing, desperate fear. Jessica's pulse quickened, realizing they were losing the light. "Lily, close your eyes," Jessica shouted, shifting her focus, her words aimed at weaving them a cocoon of safety. "Remember our memories. Hold on to our sunflowers. Feel the warmth of the sun. It's all we need." But with each command, the shadows tightened their grip, dragging them closer to despair. "No," Jessica cursed. Her voice couldn't mask the tremor of fear. As Lily clung to her, the shadows seemed to mock their unity. "Embrace the darkness. Join us. You can find freedom," whispered a dozen raspy voices from the shadows. Each word slithered into Jessica's thoughts, wrapping around her head like a vice. For a split second, a part of her fought the urge to understand. What would she find if she succumbed? But then Lily's hand squeezed hers, grounding her. "Mommy!" Tendrils clawed at her feet, pulling her down. The portal loomed above, swirling with colored nightmares, a whirlpool of all her anxieties. Jessica struggled to break through the fog, making sense of the cacophony. Hadn't she always warned Lily about the creatures hiding in the dark? Monsters aren't real. Only shadows, she vowed, both to her daughter and herself. With one last surge of resolve, she cried, "We're not afraid," and propelled their light forward, shattering through the darkness. A brilliant flash ignited, cascading into the swirling void. The shadows screamed, writhing in retaliation, their anguished howls echoing in her ears like crashing thunder. Before her, the portal warped, twisting into a new shape, something unfamiliar, a threshold of terrifying possibilities. "Mommy, what is happening?" Lily whimpered, her voice trembling. "I don't know." Jessica gasped, her heart pounding as she instinctively gripped Lily tighter. Did they dare cross that boundary? Just as a wave of shadows roared back to reclaim them, the ground below trembled. Frosty earth cracked apart, revealing dark chasms, each one branching into seeping blackness that pulled at their feet. "Jessica," a whisper licked her ear, familiar yet shrouded in dread. It was a voice she had thought long buried. "You must embrace the shadows to find the truth about the tavern." "Mommy." Lily's voice broke through the fog of confusion, but Jessica couldn't let go. Not now. Shadows circled around them, a vortex weaving hope and despair. Where would this leap take them? Would it unveil the secrets of those cursed woods? The choice lay before her. Should she leap into the darkness, or would she fight, with every fiber of her being, to reclaim her light? Suddenly, they were swept into the void, the world collapsing into an echoing silence. Jessica's last thoughts drifted like leaves swept away in a storm. What secrets were waiting for them in the blackened depths? Would the tavern reveal salvation, or lead to their ultimate doom? The sensation of falling pulled at Jessica, stretching every heartbeat into an eternity. The void was suffocating, pressing against her from all sides, shadows swirling like angry bees. Out of that darkness, a pinprick of light twisted and grew larger, a beckoning hand scattering shadows like leaves before the wind. "Hold on tight, Lily," she cried, her voice barely cutting through the roar of nothingness. She felt the warmth of her daughter next to her, the small frame vibrating with terror. Panic surged through Jessica, igniting instinct. They had to break free. Just as the light enveloped them, they tumbled violently into a cold, stark reality. Crumbling bricks and damp, yellowed wallpaper met their eyes. They landed hard, the floor rough against their skin, the musty air thick with secrets. "Mommy?" Lily's voice quivered, a whisper trembling in the dimness of the room. "Stay close," Jessica commanded, her heart still racing as she took in their surroundings. They were inside what resembled an old tavern, walls stained with age, creaky beams overhead threatening to fall. Shadows shuddered in the corners, distant echoes of the void they had been pulled from. "Is this the tavern?" Lily asked, her wide eyes reflecting the flicker of a faint candlelight, casting twisted shapes on the walls. "I think so," Jessica murmured, unsure. The chill in the air seeped into her bones. Goosebumps broke across her skin as she took a cautious step forward. She could almost hear the whispers of ghosts that once lingered, trapped in time. The memories of fear, of sorrow, and of a darker past. The tavern had been an inn for weary travelers, but now it gorged on something far more sinister. The shudder moved through the floor, and Lily gripped Jessica's hand tighter. The shadows lurked. They were still here, trapped with them. It felt wrong, as if the weight of the darkness had seeped into the very wood of the tavern. "What do we do?" Lily whispered, her voice trembling. "We find a way out," Jessica panted, forcing herself to be brave despite her own fears gnawing at her insides. "We didn't come here to." Before she could finish, the air thickened. A cold presence washed over them, and a figure emerged from the flickering shadows, an old man, his face lined with sorrow, eyes hollow and dark. "You shouldn't have come here," he warned, voice low and raspy, as if it came straight from a grave. "Once you enter, you cannot leave without understanding." "What do we need to understand?" Jessica's voice cut through the oppressive silence, indignation and fear boiling inside her. "What happened here?" "Everything," he whispered, a curling smile creeping across his face. "The tales, the blood, the souls lost in these shadows. You must uncover their truth, or be consumed by them." Jessica backed away instinctively, but the old man stepped forward, his presence almost magnetic. Only when you embrace the darkness will you discover the sin that binds this place. What sin? Lily cried, pushing against her mother, yearning for comfort while terror poured into her small frame. Suddenly, the candle flickered violently. Shadows erupted, twisting into monstrous forms that threatened to swallow them whole. The air buzzed with twisted laughter, echoes of those who had come before, ensnared within the tavern's shocking history. "Mommy!" Lily wailed, her voice rising to in that moment of chaos. A sudden clarity struck Jessica. She didn't know how to save them yet, but deep within her a small flame flickered, strong enough to resist the shadows. "Whatever it takes," she yelled, challenging the darkness. "We will find the truth." As the shadows snarled, the grotesque laughter was interrupted by something else, a distant, desperate wail echoing through the tavern. It tugged at Jessica's heart, almost familiar. Who had called out? Could there be others lost inside this nightmare? The flickering lights darkened as they were swept deeper into the tavern. The echoing cries intensified, mixing with the shadows' laughter. Jessica and Lily were not only trapped. The weight of the tavern's secrets was just beginning to unfold. They had entered a labyrinth of horror and truth. What lay waiting in that darkness? And who would be drawn out by their search? Every heartbeat drummed with a chilling question. What if embracing the shadows led to something worse than they could ever imagine? The shadows pulsed around them, thick with a malevolence that sent chills racing down Jessica's spine. Each step deeper into the tavern felt like a dare against the darkness. She could hardly breathe, the air heavy as if someone or something was watching them, waiting for the right moment to pounce. "Mommy, I don't like it here," Lily whimpered, her small hand shaking in Jessica's grip. Jessica squeezed her daughter's hand tighter. "We'll be okay, I promise," she murmured, though doubts crept in, gnawing at her resolve. The old man faded into the darkness, but his chilling warning lingered in the air. Understanding? What did that even mean? A shadow flickered at the edge of her vision, and she snapped her head around, eyes wide, heart racing. The tavern seemed alive, each creak and groan echoing off memories locked within its walls. "What is that noise?" Lily asked, her innocent curiosity quickly being consumed by fear. "I don't know," Jessica replied, straining to listen. It was a soft whispering, like 1,000 voices blending together, their words unintelligible but filled with urgency. Steeling herself, she led Lily forward, the dim light from the candles casting menacing shapes that danced on the crumbling walls. The whispers grew louder, wrapping around her like icy fingers, urging her to uncover the truth they hid. The door behind them yawned like a mouth, but there was no escaping. The tavern was hungry. A flicker caught her attention, a small, dusty mirror set in a rickety frame on the wall. Jessica stepped closer, drawn to its strange allure. As she surveyed her reflection, her heart sank. The woman staring back at her wasn't just her. Shadows crawled across her features, distorting her image like a bad dream. In the depths of the mirror, a flicker of movement caught her eye. She leaned in, breath caught in her throat. "Mommy!" Lily's voice pulled her back. With a jolt, Jessica turned back, only to find her daughter staring at the mirror, her eyes wide, mouth agape in horror. "What is that?" she gasped, pointing. The surface of the mirror rippled, and a reflection of the old man appeared. It warped and twisted, as if he was caught between worlds. "You have to," he rasped, his voice now echoing within the glass, mingling with the whispers. "Embrace it." "Embrace what?" Jessica shouted, voice trembling with frustration. All she wanted was to protect her daughter. "We can't stay here. We need to." Suddenly, shadows erupted from the mirror, spilling into the room like a thick fog. They swirled around Jessica and Lily, cold and consuming, filling their lungs with a bitter haze. Jessica stumbled back, gripping Lily tightly. Panic surged through her, desperate to fight, to escape, beyond the swirling darkness. The wails now transformed into a roar of despair, as if the whole tavern was in agony. Faces twisted in terror flashed through the shadows, pleading with empty eyes. Jessica realized those voices belonged to lost souls, captives of the tavern, trapped in its merciless grasp. "No, we have to get out. We can't be like them," she yelled, pushing through the fog. But the shadows twisted tighter, pulling her back, wrapping like chains around her limbs. The whispers grew louder, intensifying as they surged forward, overwhelming her with despair. "You cannot escape your fate from the corner." A sudden noise cut through the chaos. A loud crash echoed as furniture toppled over. Jessica turned to see an old table splintering apart, revealing an ancient book buried within the debris. Its cover was cracked and worn, but a strange gleam shimmered in the candlelight. "The truth," Lily said softly, her voice barely a whisper, eyes glued to the book. "It's in there, isn't it? They want us to find it," Jessica realized, inner dread and determination waging war within her. Could uncovering the secrets inside lead them to a way out? Or was it a trap? A decision loomed before her like a shadow. Would she dare open the book and face the secrets it held? Or would the weight of this cursed place pull them under forever? With one last glance at her daughter, who stood frozen in fear, Jessica took a deep breath. She would face whatever darkness lay ahead, not just to save herself, but to protect Lily. She moved toward the book, heart pounding, prepared to uncover the truth that could shatter everything they knew. But as her fingers brushed the cover, a sharp, grating voice echoed from the walls. "Do you really think you can handle what's inside? It might just cost you more than you are willing to pay." What awaited in the pages of that ancient tome? Would the truth grant them freedom or seal their fate in the tavern's dark history? The moment Jessica's fingers touched the worn cover of the book, a violent shudder ran through her. The whispers abruptly stopped, as if a switch had been flipped, leaving a heavy silence, punctuated only by the labored breaths of mother and daughter. The sudden stillness was more menacing than the noise. It felt like a breath held, waiting for something to break it. Lily clutched at her mother's sweater, her small fingers gripping tightly. "Mommy, I feel sick. We need to go." Her voice quivered, amplifying Jessica's anxiety. But she couldn't shake the feeling that this book might hold the answers they desperately needed. With shaking hands, Jessica pulled the book closer. The pages were yellowed and fragile, and a faint, musty scent wafted from it. Decades of sorrow and despair trapped between the covers. On the front, an intricate symbol etched into the leather caught the dying candlelight, twisting and undulating, as if alive. Suddenly, a gust of chill air swept through the tavern, sending shivers across their skin. Shadows danced menacingly against the walls, stretching and contorting, whispering promises that echoed inside her mind. "Open it," they seemed to coo, taunting. "Uncover what was lost." Taking a deep breath, Jessica lifted the cover. A sharp crack echoed, the noise slicing through the stillness like a knife. The first page revealed hand-scribbled writings, phrases that looked both familiar and foreign. In the margins, frantic notes were scrawled, almost begging to be read. As her eyes scanned the text, her heart raced. Portions spoke of cursed souls, eternal torment, and an unending hunger that the tavern fed upon. "They're trapped," she whispered, horror dawning. "They can't leave. Mommy, I don't like this." Lily's voice trembled, drawing Jessica's attention back to her. Lily's gaze was fixed down the dim hall where the tavern's true darkness resided, shadowy figures flickering between the beams. Jessica felt it, too, an unease prickling at the back of her mind, an unyielding sense that something was watching them. "Just a little more," Jessica urged, trying to steady her voice. She turned the page, and a sudden gust extinguished the candles, plunging them into darkness. The outlines of their surroundings blurred, shadows whispering louder now, drowning out all rational thought. "Mommy, help!" Lily screamed, her voice breaking. Panic shot through Jessica as she fumbled for her daughter, the book dropping from her grasp. It landed open, pages fluttering wildly, revealing more horrifying illustrations, twisted faces, fearful looks, desperate gestures caught forever in INK. She grasped Lily's hand. A flash illuminated the room, bright, insistent, tearing through the cloud of shadow. Jessica squinted, heart racing. There, on the far wall, words began to form, written not with ink, but with light. "Join us." The shadows around them stirred, rippling like water. Jessica could feel the tugging at her heart, tendrils reaching, inviting her to join the forgotten. "Mommy, they want us!" Lily shrieked, her grip tightening with fear. "We can't let them take us," Jessica shouted, forcing herself to tear her gaze away from the luminous message. She gripped Lily's hand tighter, everything inside her urging her to flee. But as she turned, shadows flared and twisted, blocking their escape. No, you can't leave yet. Not without knowing a voice, layered and echoing, resonated from the walls around them. Jessica's heart nearly stopped. Knowing what? She couldn't allow them to corner her and Lily. They had to get out. In that moment, a new sensation swirled in her gut, a glimmer of hope amidst the approaching despair. The truth, she blurted, as if realization had crashed into her all at once. The book will help us, but which truth? Which secret could she risk unveiling? Caught between her daughter's fright and the looming darkness, Jessica stood frozen, the weight of fate drawing closer. What lay within that book might save them, or it could seal their doom within the haunted walls of the tavern forever. Time was running out, shadows closing in with the certainty of death. Would she dare plunge deeper into the secrets embedded in that ancient tome? Or would the tavern decide her fate before she could make her choice? Jessica's heart raced as she stared at the open pages of the ancient book. The words shimmered, almost alive, dancing under her frantic gaze, each letter calling out for her to grasp its knowledge, its power, even its dark despair. Lily clutched her fall sweater tighter, fear etching deep lines on her little face. "Mommy," Lily whispered, her voice trembling. "They're coming." The shadows stirred, closing in like a predator stalking its prey. Jessica felt that familiar grip of terror, tight around her chest, but she pushed it aside. She had to protect Lily. She had to uncover the truth. "Hold on, baby. We'll find a way," she said, forcing determination into her voice as she turned back to the book. "Please, show us what we need." She pressed her palm against the pages, summoning whatever hidden wisdom lay beneath their fragile surfaces. The shadows writhed, a tone of discontent vibrating through the tavern. Thick, dark fingers clawed at the air as if they sought to snatch the book away from her. With a deep breath, she read aloud, the words beginning to glow in the flickering darkness. "To escape the curse, the heart must ignite. Only by facing shadows will the sun shine bright." As the last syllable left her lips, the shadows halted, stunned as though paralyzed. The tavern shuddered, vibrating with energy, the very air buzzing with newfound hope. "We have to face the darkness," Jessica breathed, turning to Lily, who looked back at her, eyes wide with fear, but filled with the tiniest spark of belief. "Together, Mommy. We can do it together," Lily agreed, courage swelling in her small voice. Jessica tightened her grip, nodding. Together was their only option. Jessica took a steadying breath, her pulse quickening as she stepped deeper into the dark swirl of shadows. "Show yourselves," she demanded, her words ringing out with an authority she didn't know she possessed. "I refuse to let you claim my daughter." The shadows pulsed, twisting shapes breaking free from their confines to form grotesque figures, ghastly faces trapped in perpetual sorrow. Each figure wended through dark whispers of rage and despair, their hollow eyes locked onto Jessica and Lily, hungry for fear. But Jessica stood firm. "You want us? You'll have to break us first." She felt a flicker of warmth spiral inside her, the very essence of her love for Lily. It blazed brighter, resisting the oppressive pull of the darkness. "Mommy," Lily shouted, eyes glistening, the warmth of their bond spilling forth like sunlight to warm the cold night. In that moment, it fueled Jessica's spirit, igniting a fire that could pierce the deepest shadows. The darkness recoiled, the monstrous forms around them shuddering. They could feel the power of love, unyielding, vibrant, and alive. It wasn't just love. It was the truth, the collective pain of the forgotten souls within the tavern, repelled by the purity of a mother's heart. "That's why we're stronger," Jessica cried, face lifted toward the swirling fragments of shadow. "You feed on despair, but our light will break you." With that, she surged forward, enveloping them both in the warm glow bubbling from their intertwined hearts, sending it cascading toward the shadows. Lily's laughter rang like a bell through the night, a sharp, bright sound that shattered the whispers. The shadows writhed, screams cascading into a symphony of despair as the light pushed through them. Each flicker shot rays of warmth, banishing the ink-black horror. "Join us," the shadows hissed, but the realization struck Jessica. They had no power here. They were merely phantoms, illusions forged by whispers of fear, desperation, and sorrow. "No," she shouted defiantly. "Your grasp ends today." and in waves, she pushed against the entire darkness with their radiant bond, relentless and unyielding like the fiery sun. As the light erupted, the shadows screeched, unraveling like smoke, sucked into nothingness before it expanded to envelop the tavern. Jessica held Lily tight as the shadows consumed themselves, the walls around them shuddering before collapsing into a blinding flash of white. Seconds later, they opened their eyes. The tavern transformed. Sunlight poured through wide-open doors. Fresh air flooded the space, scenting it with earth and freedom. Is it over? Lily's voice shook with a mix of fear and hope as she looked around wide-eyed. It is, Jessica said, her heart lifting as she pulled her daughter closer. The air felt lighter, free from the weight of the ghosts and the shadows, no more secrets tangling around them. Slowly, they walked together outside into Millstone Hollow. The woods stood still, vibrant and untouched, an all-new world poised before them. Jessica took a moment, breathing in the sweet air of liberation. We faced the shadows, and we won, she murmured triumphantly. They can't hurt us anymore. As fear ebbed away like fallen leaves in autumn, a new sense of peace filled her, a bond unbreakable between them, no matter what haunted corners of life lay ahead. They had emerged from the darkness, armed with the light of love, the dawn of a fresh start, in the quiet whisper of the morning sun. She knew, together, they could conquer anything. And while the town might still hold secrets, they would always be on the side of the light. This is the moment to support the channel. Subscribe immediately so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this ending. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Only true fans understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions.